What's going on, everybody? My name's Giraffe Anatomy, and I am just the little man in the box in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. And today we are going to get into a Smite quick god guide for the goddess Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm going to go into jungle practice here just so I can show you all of her abilities. And yeah, the basics of this video. What we're going to do is we're just going to go over a nice quick high level overview of Aphrodite, her role in the game, kind of what her strengths are, what her weaknesses are, how to use her abilities, what her passive is. So hopefully by the end of this video, you're able to jump into an arena game, joust game, slash, or conquest, and kind of know what's going on with Aphro, be able to use her kit, be able to play with her, and not be completely lost, right? When you take her into one of those game modes. So really quick, just to preface this, Aphrodite is a mage. So she is kind of in that category of does a lot of burst damage, does magical damage, but she is unique because she's also a healer. And there are a few healers in Smite. A lot of Smite characters, they have healing abilities where they'll self-heal, and then they have abilities where they'll heal others, and Aphrodite falls into that category. Healing is sometimes meta and not meta within Smite. It's they're always trying to balance it, right? And sometimes it's really dependent on the items that you're buying, some of the changes they make to those items, like anti-heal, the brawling debuff, like all of these things kind of play into it. So always keep a lookout on that and see how it affects healers, and Aphrodite being one of the more, I would say, potent healers in Smite. It definitely affects her a lot when those items are changed, and if they have any sort of like nerfs, or if they buff any of those items. So keep a lookout on that for her. What we'll do is I'll just jump into here, set level 20, and we will go into her kit, and we'll start with her passive, right? So her passive is called Center of Attention. So Aphrodite gains 4 physical protection and 4 magical protection for each friendly or enemy god within 70 feet of her. So as you can see, my passive is already working. You can see I have 3 here, increased protections, and that's because I'm near 3 of these guys. So let me show you real quick. If I just get near these 3 Odins here and not that 4th one, you can see the number here is at 3, and you'll see these numbers change. And if I get a little close to this 4th one as he comes in range, see how this number is changing from 4 to 3 to 4. When he gets close enough to me, he ends up activating my passive, and I get an extra 4 physical protection and 4 magical protection because he comes within 70 feet of me. So you can actually see these numbers changing in the bottom left hand corner here. My physical protection will go up by 4, and so will my magical protection when I'm near them. And then this is literally any friendly or enemy gods, you'll get these protections. So as you can see, when I go over these 7 Odins here, I'm now at 7 for my Center of Attention. I have all of these extra protections because I am near all these people, right? So that's why Aphrodite can be played also as a support character. You will most likely see her as a mage, and then people will build a hybrid between like damage, and they'll build some healing items and things like that as well. But you can also play her in like solo lane. I've seen her played in solo. I've also seen her played as a support. So mid, being a mage, that's her main role. You can flex her into solo or support. I've seen her built full damage. I've seen her built a hybrid of damage and a little bit of defense, and I've also seen her built full defense before. So just realize that you can play her a few different ways. Just because of this passive, it's a great way to get some extra protections into it. It works well in like a solo lane sort of aspect, and she's great in team fights and as a utility character because of the way her kits work. We're going to get into her kit here in a second, but her kit really shines when you're near other teammates. So that's why you've seen her played as a support or even as a mage. She'll sort of take a back seat when playing her. She's not she always wants to be attached to somebody. She wants to be working with teammates to get the most utilization out of her, right? So let's go into her one and explain why that is and why it's so important that she works well with her teammates here. So her first ability is called Kiss. Aphrodite blows a kiss to an allied god, making them her soulmate and giving them both increased movement speeds. So when you kiss a friendly, you and that person will both get that movement speed. So if it hits an ally, it has reduced 1 second cooldown as well. If the kit hits an enemy god, they are stunned, and Aphrodite's soulmate gets jealous, increasing their damage. Also, 70% of all mana regenerated by Aphrodite is restored to her soulmate. So this is a great ability, and I will show you how it's utilized. Right. So if you right now Odin is an enemy, and if you're not attached to anybody and you just kiss them, and it's an enemy, they're just gonna get stunned. It'll do damage, and that's it. Nothing else really happens. You basically use it as a stun. And I apologize. They actually don't get damaged if they're an enemy. They just get stunned there. So you didn't see any numbers come up. It is just a stun. But say I changed the teams, and now that Odin's on my team, and he's an ally of mine, and I go to kiss him. Now we're linked, and we're both getting that movement speed buff, right? So you can see how fast Odin is moving now with this link, and this link goes pretty far. If you see, right, this is like farther than it's just about like an auto range away, I would say, until it starts getting into this mode, which is when it starts flashing, that's telling you like, hey, this person's getting a little far away, and if you go a little bit farther than this, it's going to snap, right? But it's a pretty good range on here. Like, this is an auto distance away. You get a little bit further than it. So that's a lot of leeway you can do in a team fight to still be linked. But I'll show you what it looks like when it starts getting a little too far away, right? There, see? Odin got too far away that time, and the connection snapped. So you'd basically have to go up to him. You'd have to re-kiss them to link up again. So while you are linked, though, if you kiss an enemy... Do you see the little squiggles above Odin's head? That's basically the jealousy duration, right? And that'll last 5 seconds. And during that, the person you're linked to, that friendly, will do extra damage to the person that you just kissed. So me and Odin are allies, and I kiss an Odin that is not my ally. This Odin here, that is my ally, will do extra damage to him, depending on what level it is. It goes all the way up to 20% when it's at when it's fully maxed out, right? So let's look at that again. I'm basically going to kiss this Odin. He'll get stunned, and my teammate gets the jealousy bonus damage. So that is a great utilization tool. And then, yeah, you're able to zoom around the map too. You're able to regain mana. So if Afro regenerates mana, your ally is also regenerating mana too. So if you build like MP5 on Afro, like, it will kind of carry over to your teammates as well. So a really great tool to be linked, and you normally want to be linked during somebody at all times if you can help it. Basically use your kiss and link up with somebody, because it's going to benefit you both greatly, and I'll show you that with her second ability. So Afro's second ability is called Back Off. Agitated by all the attention, Aphrodite commands enemies to get away from her, doing damage around her, slowing them by 25% for 2 seconds, and knocking them back for 25 units from her. If Aphrodite has a soulmate, and an explosion originates on them in addition, dealing the same damage as well as slowing enemies. If an enemy would be hit by both blasts, they will only be affected by the one originating Aphrodite. Okay, so what does that mean? So with her back off, the most important thing to notice is you create a second circle when you're linked up with somebody. And not only will you do the damage around you yourself in this circle, but you'll do damage around your teammate as well that you're linked to. You need to be linked to them for this to happen. But you'll see both of those exploded. Now, an enemy can only be affected by one. So if you guys are both super close together when you do it, they'll only take damage from one of the sources. You can't like double up on it, but it does give you the ability to kind of fight from a range, right? If you are linked to like a tankier character, you can still do your damage while he's diving somebody, or in a team fight while you're a little bit further away, and you're able to stay a little safe, right? So you're able to still do that radial damage from Odin himself, right? As you're linked to him, as you can see there. The other thing is enemies basically get slowed by 25% when hit with this ability, plus they get the damage taken to them, and then they are knocked back from like the person it originates from. So let me go back over here real quick. I'm going to change teams and show you kind of what the knockback looks like from another god. So if it's these guys here, see how they get knocked back when I hit them. So they get knocked back a little from originating from like the center of the explosion, which is either Afro or her soulmate there. So it's a really great ability to use. Basically, if Afro's building full damage and all that stuff, she's able to use it with her soulmate. And oh, he's my enemy now, so I can't link with them. But yeah, as you can see, if I don't have a soulmate, it's just going to originate around me. If I do have a soulmate, it's going to originate around me and the soulmate there. But an enemy can only be affected by one of the circles. So let's get into her third ability real quick. Lovebirds. Aphrodite calls forth a flock of beautiful doves that fly forward in the area in front of her. The doves circle around all enemies in the path, damaging enemies every 0.5 seconds for 3 seconds. Afro and her soulmate also receive healing when cast. Right? So this is Afro's main heal ability. When you're connected to somebody and you use doves, this is what's going to heal them up, right? So I will show you real quick what this looks like on an enemy. See all those little ticks there? That's the birds just like pecking at them, right? And doing damage over time for those 3 seconds after you hit them with this ability. It can hit multiple enemies. So if you can get a couple people in this range, right? They all take that damage. And as long as they're hit, the doves will peck at them, right? So you don't have to hit them with like a full sweep or anything. Even if you hit them with the very end of it or something like that, they will take that kind of damage. So even if they're all the way back here, right? The doves eventually get to them, right? So yeah, and I think the most important thing about this is using this ability, you're getting those heals per tick with a teammate. So it's hard to show that just because in the jungle practice it's hard to show that because when you're linked to that Odin bot or anything, there isn't any way to show the healing on your teammate or anything like that. But Afro will get healed from it. So I could show you real quick what it looks like just by herself. So Guan Yu will hit me. And I can use my doves. And you'll see I'm getting some healing here, right? When I do that. When I use Aphrodite's doves, I get a little bit of healing back. You would see the tick there. So yeah, and then you'll see the notification in the bottom left-hand corner with the doves. It'll show that you're healing for those ticks while you do that. So let us real quick just talk about some combos that you can do. The way you use her kit, like I said, with just these first 3 abilities, we're going to change team again because her ultimate also is related to being linked to somebody. So when you're linked to somebody, basically you have the option to, once linked, stun an enemy with your kiss and enable the person that you're with to do extra damage to them, right? You're able to use your 2 to create a blast radius coming from your soulmate as well. And then you're able to use your 3 to heal you and your ally. You see these 2 little doves flying around us? That means the healing ticks are being applied to us. You just can't see it because both of our health bars are full. So when you're playing with Aphrodite, really what you're doing is you're linking to an ally. Sometimes it's good to link to tanks because they will be in the fight. Like if you link to the solo laner or like one of the warriors that's diving the enemy team and you stay somewhat close to them, you're able to do a ton of damage. You basically follow them into battle. Once they're linked with you, you're kind of waiting to use your stun. As soon as somebody comes in, you will stun an enemy and then press your 2 while your teammate is then jumping on them and just like attacking them. They're going to get that jealousy buff and they're going to do extra damage to them, plus that radial thing, the back off, right? You're going to do damage with that too, and then you can hit them with your 3 as well. You'll get some healing back. Your soulmate will get some healing back, and you'll be able to effectively just stomp somebody. So she is a really great character working with your teammates in this regard, because just using those abilities, like you're giving your teammate a huge advantage in those kind of fights, and you're kind of staying safe with it. I mean, you can go in with them. But yeah, it's like you can also play back a little bit and be able to do what you need to do, right? You do this, you stun somebody, put some doves, your guy jumps in on them, you press the 2, that kind of thing. Like that's sort of how you use her kit. So let's talk about her ultimate ability here, which is also really great, and it works with your soulmate too. So her ultimate ability is called Undying Love. Aphrodite pledges undying love to herself and her soulmate. While this is active, her and her soulmate are invulnerable to all damage for a short duration. All crowd control effects are also removed when activated. All right. So what this does is, I'll just show you what it looks like by itself. As you can see, pretty quick, right? 2 seconds of invulnerability damage, but during those 2 seconds, it's basically like a free Aegis. You know, you can't be hurt, you can't be like jacked up basically, and if somebody is already crowd controlled, it gets them out of it. So say a Ymir freezes him, then you pop your invulnerability, it will get him out of that, and he'll be able to use a movement ability or run away from something, and then he'll also be invulnerable from any additional damage coming in during that time. So you'll see that on a lot of like a lot of enemy teams. They'll set up a kill by like freezing them with a Ymir freeze, and then you'll have like let's say Ra like sets up his Ra snipe, right? If you time your invulnerability right, I'll just show you real quick by resetting the cooldowns. If you time your invulnerability right and you're attached to your soulmate, and your soulmate gets frozen by Ymir, and you see Ra winding up, if you press your ultimate, he's able to be unfrozen, he starts running away, and then Ra either misses his snipe, or even if he hits him, he won't do any damage to him for those 2 seconds, right? So it's a great tool to use if you're coordinated with your teammate, or if you understand what they're doing and you can follow, like, okay, I think they're going to go in right now. When they dive, if I'm waiting to use my ultimate at the right time, you can basically save your teammate's life, really screw over the enemy team by taking away like one of their ultimate abilities or a CC chain that they're going to put on your teammate, and just really help out and turn the tide of the battle, right? Just with that ability. So yeah, so that's the basics of Aphrodite. Let's get into just a little bit of building about her. You know, we're already like 17 minutes in to this video, so I want to kind of wrap this up and everything. But you've seen her kit, you kind of see how to utilize it. So really quick, just some ways to build her. Aphro loves to have cooldown, right? And then there are some choice items that you can build to make her healing better and make her a little beefier or tankier. So as you can see, I just have some items that I wanted to make sure I talked about, which is like Lotus Crown. Any god affected by your ability heals gains 15 increased physical and magical protection for 5 seconds. This is a great item to build on Aphrodite, because when you're linked to somebody like this and you're throwing out your doves to people while they're getting healed like this, Lotus Crown will also apply this passive as well to it, which is any god affected by your ability heals gains 15 increased physical and magical protection for 5 seconds. So this is a great item to build on Aphro because it's giving your teammate extra protections while they're like diving and fighting and stuff like that. I will also show you normally, well, here, let's do this. Let's sell everything. Let's talk about starter items real quick. Starter items, you would normally get Sands of Time. It goes really well with her because you can upgrade it to either Pendulum of Ages or the alternate timeline. Pendulum of Ages gives you that 20% cooldown reduction. So that's already 20% right there. You can also get something like Chronos Pendant, and you already have your 40% cooldown plus Chronos Pendant's passive just with 2 items. So these are great ways to start with Aphro. If you have cooldown, you're able to be kissing people, stunning people, using your 2 attached to your soulmate more, healing more, you know, throwing out all that stuff. So it's really great to build her that way. Also, having Lotus Crown is a good idea to throw in there because you're still getting some magical power out of it, but you're getting some physical protections, so it helps you from getting dived by jungles, physical gods, things like that as well. And it's giving you and your teammates protections when you heal them. And then another one that's really great on Aphro is Rod of I always say it wrong. Rod of Acephalipes, I think that's how you say it. Basically, allied gods within 70 units have their healing increased by 20%. So you're going to be doing more healing on your 3 when you use this. So you would attach to a soulmate, and between Lotus Crown and this, you're going to be able to help sustain your teammates during these fights. And you can see this little bubble, right? This increased magical and physical protections when I use my 3 now, because we have Lotus Crown. So do that. We're getting the Lotus Crown buff, and then look at with Chronos Pendant and just Sands of Time, which is 10%, the starter item. Our birds are back up almost when the Lotus Crown passive is back up too. So you know you have like 4 seconds on this, like 3, 2, 1. By the time the Lotus Crown passive goes away and that bubble goes, your heal is back up and you're able to do it again, right? So this is like a really great item, and this is why you've seen Aphro played as support or even like a solo character, because she can build a little half tanky, half damage and still be a great utilization for her team. Also with the rod, you're getting some movement speed going, so it enables you to get some mobility. You still have some power, get a little bit of health, makes you a little bit tankier, and because of your passive, you're going to get some protections anyway. So Aphro becomes like pretty beefy with some items like this, and a little bit harder to kill. So you can survive those team fights, stay linked to your teammates longer in those team fights, and then hopefully they're helping you do the damage, and you're able to kill your teammates because of it. Just some other items, like, right, if the other gods have anti-heal, getting a Divine Ruin isn't bad. Rada Tahuti also isn't bad, just for like power and penetration. I'm trying to think of any other items that would be like really great on her. You can build things like we said before, MP5 is huge with Aphrodite. Like, I would basically recommend in these last two, if this is what you've built so far, just building some penetration of some sort, right? So something like a Chiron's coin would be good. That's 20%. Obsidian shard would be great too. Rada Tahuti, right? Any of those items, or even like a Soul Reaver sort of thing. Just get some penetration in these last two. That way you're able to do the damage to any sort of like tanks or even squishies that have some protections on them. It would be a great addition to your build. You don't have to worry about cooldown too much anymore, because at the end of this, you'll be able to upgrade at level 20 this to Pendulum of Ages. Now you have 40% cooldown just with those two items, and then you would have something like I said, if they have anti-heal, Divine Rune would be fine, and a Chronos Pendant. This is not the order you'd build them in. You'd probably build these before like the Rod of Cephalakes, however you say it. Chiron's Coin and Divine Rune, you'd probably build up here a little bit more. You could maybe go Lotus Crown after this if you want, but you kind of want to get your pen on a little bit earlier. So maybe build Chiron's Coin here, the Lotus Crown, Divine Rune, and then this. Or if you need the anti-heal first, build that first, and you can go into like Chronos. Like, there's a few ways depending on who you're versing and what you're doing on how to build. And so yeah, and by the way, we will be releasing a build video. We're going to go through all the items, why they're used, how they're used on different gods, the build orders you go on certain gods. That'll be a nice long video. That'll be like a 2-hour video probably with chapters in them, so you can kind of skip to the ones you want to see. But we will be going through all the items and kind of explain all that stuff a little bit more. So if you haven't already, like and subscribe. Just so you can get the notifications that when that video drops, you'll be able to check it out and see what we have to say about all the items in Smite 2, because that's a long one. That's a beefy video. But yeah, so these are the basics on Aphrodite. This is like a certain type of build that you'll see on her. Like I said before, these items are subjective sometimes. Sometimes you don't have to go like a Lotus Crown or a Rod to do like a bunch of healing for your teammate. You can still just go straight power and build her straight like a mage. She'll operate perfectly fine if you're just doing straight mage items. You don't need to build the Lotus Crown or Rod, but these are just some 2 items that synergize with her kit pretty well that you should always just try checking out, especially if you're playing with friends or something like that. It really helps the dive potential and just some team fight potential when you guys are playing together and you're using Aphro. So yeah, that's about it for us today. Thank you guys very much for joining, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much and have a great day.